and I are huge fans of Lorcana and Ravensburger. And so today, when a lawsuit was filed by Upper Deck against Ravensburger and Lorcana, we were just a little bit nervous. So we reached out to an attorney to help us look at the case and think through the problem.
Bottom line, if you're a Lorcana fan, don't panic. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Obviously, we had an emotional day in the Lorcana community. Like all of you, we saw that Ravensburger is being sued by Upper Deck. And we've been trying to process this, but luckily we've had some help. Paul Lesko, who's joining us today, who is a lawyer and card collector, game player, who has a history of analyzing lawsuits in this industry, and his Twitter thread is an intersection of these two things coming together: the law and then card collecting and card playing. So encourage you to follow him. Paul, thanks for joining us and helping us make sense of today's crazy news.
No, thanks for having me on. This is my first introduction to Lorcana, and you pronounce it Ravensburger? Because I've been pronouncing it Ravensburger all day. So hopefully you can correct me and keep me honest here.
It is one of the first things we all learned. It is not Ravensburger as we want to pronounce it in English. It's Ravensburger, but we do our best.
Gotcha. I'll try not to butcher it too much.
Yeah, we blend the two and we just call it Ravensburger. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And we'd love to get started. If you wouldn't mind just overviewing some of the facts that we've learned today in the case and really what's going on.
Sure. So today it looks like a company named Upper Deck. It's a company that's famous for, its baseball cards, its hockey cards, but also has some experience in trading card games. Brought a lawsuit today against Ravensburger and is it Ryan Miller, who looks to be the one of the inventors of is it Lorcana? How am I going to pronounce it right?
Lorcana.
Lorcana. Okay, Lorcana. There's some typos in the complaint that's actually filed, so I actually have the name wrong in there. So Lorcana. Okay. So what happened is Upper Deck alleges that they had a relationship with Ryan Miller, that they hired him on to create their own trading card game. And somehow during this relationship, while they were going down the road, he terminated the relationship and left, to which Upper Deck hired two more people. They continued creating the game, and then they come to find out, holy cow, there's this press release of a game coming out. So Ravensburger is coming out with Ryan Miller with a game that sounds remarkably like ours. So Upper Deck filed a lawsuit suing both of them and alleging that first of all, there was basically a non-disclosure agreement with Ryan Miller, and also a acknowledgement that everything that Ryan Miller worked on with Upper Deck is Upper Deck property. So it's kind of an allegation that Ryan Miller may have stolen Upper Deck's trade secrets for this game, brought them over, and then put them into Lorcana. And then also they're alleging that Ravensburger knew of this and was involved in this process too. As part of the lawsuit, obviously Upper Deck is asking for damages because they're concerned that the Lorcana product is going to come to market before the Upper Deck product's going to. So that makes, in the eyes of consumers, it makes Upper Deck look like it's a copycat game, when they allege we're actually the first game. We should have gotten the market first, but for whatever reasons, they got the market first. So we look like the copiers when in fact, we're alleging they're the copiers. So they're asking for damages, money damages from that, but they're also seeking an injunction. An injunction is where you ask the court to tell somebody to do something. And here they're asking them to potentially stop selling the game, stop making the game, keep any monies that you guys earn from this game in trust so that you can give it to us, and also give us back any of our trade secrets that you may have. So that's the general outline of the case. We're only at day one of the case. We've only seen one side, the plaintiff side. We won't see the defendant's side until after the lawsuit is served on them, and then they have depending what happens, 15 to 30 to 60 days, depending on if the extension's given, to answer to see what their side of it is.
Now, I appreciate that impartial look. For us, for the channel, and for probably many people watching, I wish we could say we were impartial, but we're obviously huge fans of Ravensburger and huge fans of Ryan Miller. So, when we saw this, we were a little heartbroken, and we appreciate that look. Given, one question that we've been seeing a lot, or one concern we've had a lot, is given the injunction that you mentioned. We see in there they are trying to stop, or ask the judge or a judge to prevent Ravensburger from selling the game. And so obviously for all of us who've been waiting a year for this and waiting to see the game launch in August, should we be concerned?
So when you ask for an injunction, there's two ways to ask for an injunction. One is you ask for the judge to shut everything down before the case begins, really, right from the beginning. That is really, really hard to do. The other way, and the more common way to shut something down, is to wait until after the trial, after you've won the case. Then if you've won, then the judge can shut down the case. So right now, because it's a new case, we haven't been able to access the court's docket. We don't know which way Upper Deck is proceeding. Normally what you would do for a case like this, since the release is in 2 months, if Upper Deck's in a hurry, they'll file for either a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction. This tells the judge, hey, we have to make this case go fast and we have to do it now. We don't know if that's happened. We don't know if there's any filings like that or anything in preparation. So at least as of this moment, I wouldn't completely panic because it doesn't look like Upper Deck has taken those next steps. Now they may very well try and do that at some point. I think as you get closer to August, I would watch and see what happens for that. But it's really a high standard that Upper Deck has to prove. And you have to show a couple things to get a injunction before a case really begins. You have to show that you're likely to win. So you basically have to come forward with your evidence and say, hey, judge, look, we're going to go through another year of discovery and looking at the case, but we're likely to win. And the judge has to agree that you're likely to win. But then the harder part, you have to show that you will be irreparably harmed, meaning that money won't make you whole, that this is going to somehow affect your reputation. It's going to do something that money's not going to be enough. And in most cases, a judge is going to be like, money will make it right. If you go, like for this case, if you go through the entire case and you win, you can't tell me that, if everybody knows you won and they pay you money, that doesn't make you whole. So that's the factor that's harder to win. If Upper Deck does move for a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order, they have to explain how they'll be irreparably harmed. It's a high hurdle. So I guess that's a long way of saying, at least at this point, I wouldn't panic yet. We'll watch the docket. We'll see what happens. If they do file a motions for a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order, we'll look it over and see, does it have a good chance of winning or not? I'm somebody who actually, as a plaintiff's attorney, I have filed and received, injunctions like this before, and for products. So I do, know what to look for and what not to look for. Not knowing too much more about this case, I think this would be a difficult one to get an early injunction on. But again, it's at the beginning. We don't know all the facts of the case yet, so we'll just have to wait and see.
So another thing we've heard from the community and from my own personal understanding is that you can't copyright game mechanics themselves. So kind of two-part question here. First, is that true? Can you copyright game mechanics? And secondly, based on that, do you think that there is a case here, or what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. And so you are correct. You cannot copyright game mechanics. Copyrights really cover what you think about as the arts, movies, books. You can copyright instructions. If you have a manual for instructions, you can copyright the instructions, but not the implementation of those instructions. That's the realm for patents. Patents are, if you can get a patent, you can actually get a patent on gameplay. And Upper Deck mentioned that they did file a patent for gameplay. Well, they didn't say gameplay, but they filed a patent having to do with this area at some point. Nowadays, I used to litigate patents. It's hard to get a patent now on gameplay or a business method or something that's not a physical object or a medical treatment or something. It's really hard to get a patent on these. So Upper Deck has hinted that maybe the lawsuits have to do with gameplay and secrets of gameplay. They've mentioned the patent idea, so they're going to try and push it. Copyright won't work for them. So what they need to show here is that there is a trade secret, some types of trade secrets, and I'm using the word trade secret loosely, but it's like something secret or something important to the game that Ryan learned while he worked for Upper Deck, while he did his work for Upper Deck, that he then left with and incorporated into the new game. And that not only did they do that, but it's not something generally known, or it's not something easy. It's something that, you would look at and say, yeah, that's new. That's something that's new. And it may even get to the point of something that I hadn't thought of yet too. So yes, you can't copyright gameplay. You're free in those regards, but if it's a trade secret that's unique to what Upper Deck had, there could be a potential issue.
Great.
Interesting. So how do you think, and you've covered this a little bit already, but, if we're, as Lorcana fans, as the Lorcana community, as we're waiting for this to play out, what are we looking for as far as next steps? Will we see, the defense filing? Like, what are we waiting to see as we try to see how this plays out?
So I can go into the detailed lawyer step by step that nobody cares about, or I can give you the grand overview, because there's going to be some silliness where this was filed in state court. I guarantee that they're going to try to move this case to federal court. They may try to move it to Washington. Nobody cares about that. But the next steps you're going to look for will either be a move by Upper Deck or a move by Ravensburger. It's going to either be Upper Deck's going to move for their injunction, or Ravensburger is going to file what's called either a motion to dismiss, or they'll answer the complaint, or some combination thereof. If they file a motion to dismiss, they're going to say that this lawsuit has no basis, and here's why. If they file an answer, it means, hey, this case, we're denying everything. We want our day in court to win. And given the allegations that are in this case, there might be a combination. They might move to dismiss some claims, but not all claims. There's a fraud claim in here. Fraud's really, really hard to start a case with. So that's really what you'll be looking for, is who's gonna act first. Is it Upper Deck trying to shut down the game? Or is it gonna be an answer where we actually get the defendant's side of the story? From there, once that happens, then the case will go into what's called discovery, where we won't hear anything for about a year from the case while they go back and forth exchanging documents. That's if they don't move to shut it down. And then next we'll hear from them is probably 9 months now to a year from now, where they'll try and blow up the case one more time before trial. And if this is a case that's headed to trial, if there's not going to be any early movement by Upper Deck to shut them down, you're probably looking at 2 years till you get a trial. So I guess the big take home, if Upper Deck doesn't do anything for the next 2 months, you're safe for 2 years for this game. There'll be stuff that comes out. And it's interesting because, again, we've only seen the Upper Deck side. We haven't seen the defendant's side here. So if Upper Deck's right, and we don't know that, will there be changes to the game? I mean, will there be changes to the mechanics? Will there be changes? That'll be something that'll be pretty telling. Will they, bump the release date? There's little things that you can watch at that can give you little hints. I doubt it. I tend to find in cases like this, everybody just goes forward like it's business as usual until a judge says stop. So
interesting. Well, as we're waiting for those next steps, I know we'll be following it, but I have to say, people can get the latest and greatest with analysis from your Twitter handle. Can you tell people how to follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Paul_Lesko. Unfortunately, I came up with that my name 10 years ago, so I used an underscore. So you have to type it in.
All right. It's all right. Well, thanks so much. You have any other questions, Erin?
I don't. Thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to meet with us, and hopefully we can have you back as things continue to develop and get your feedback on what's going on.
No, I'd be happy to. It's as soon as this case shows up on the dockets, every morning I have a little program run through and check every court and every case that I file for updates. So, yeah, if you follow me, as soon as something happens, I will tweet about it that day.
Perfect.
Awesome.
No, we're excited. Thanks again. And so, bottom line, everybody, don't panic.
Yet.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Good. Thank you.
Wait, hold up. Don't end the meeting.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Just hit stop recording. It's up at the top.
I always do that. I've tried to do
And
that
I'm
multiple
so
times.
sorry. Let me go get Chili before she